Did you see that? 72 degrees on January 28. We do usually get a few days like this, kind of like spring in the middle of winter, and that's what we're having right now. Cash, come on, Cash. Good boy. And we have another couple days like this, and then suddenly we got a week and a half of rain and temperatures in the mid 40s. So I'm going to take advantage and certainly be outside this afternoon. Now I'm kind of putting everything else I'm doing on hold because in about 2 weeks we're going to take the camper out for a road trip, so I want to get it ready. But before I do that, I want to come out here and give the birds a little more bird seed. Now I keep the bird seed out here. I keep the bird seed out here with the dog food and other things we just don't need on a day-to-day basis. I just put a couple scoops in this little bowl. Hey, Brownie. Stay away from the birds, Brownie. I put a couple scoops in this little bowl and sprinkle some on the little miniature picnic table I made for them. And then some just around here. All right, that should be enough to hold them through at least the rest of the day. Let me go put the bowl back. And shut the door so Cash doesn't get into his dog food. Then I'll head out to the garden. Cash, come here, Cash. Come on, bud. Good boy. I just love the way it looks out here with all those branches trimmed up and limbed up and cleaned up. It's just park-like. Come here, buddy. Come here, Cash. Cash. Listen, you gotta stay out here, okay? No dogs allowed in the garden. Good boy. You stay. So what I really want to do out here is I want to plant a couple more rows of radishes because the last ones I planted are coming up. So far I haven't gotten a whole lot of it, but I'm hoping to get a nice little rotation going to where I can always pick some. I got lettuce and cilantro that I want to pick too. The first thing I want to do is pull out some of these little weeds that are just popping up in the area where we're going to plant the radishes. Otherwise I won't be able to pull them out for quite a while. You probably won't know the difference between the radishes coming up and the weeds. Now I know I'm okay here because I haven't planted anything in these 2 rows. I was reserving them for another row of radishes like these little guys you see here. Now that's not a radish. I can pull that. And there are a bunch of little weeds here. Look at that. I don't know if you can see that. That's an earthworm. These guys are my friends. I love these guys. There he is. See that? Yeah, I want to be careful with him. Or her. I don't know. I think they're hermaphrodites. Let me know in the comment if earthworms are hems or hers or if they're both. I was kind of a planting guide. I took this pencil and every ½ inch I made a line on it with my Sharpie. I guess I started this at every ½ inch I made a line on it with my Sharpie, and that kind of tells me exactly how far to push it in for the hole depth because the radishes want a ½ inch depth. So I can push it right up to that line. And I know I got just the right depth on that. Another thing I like about radishes is the seeds are nice and big. Some of these seeds are so small, they're almost like dust. Okay. Okay. I'll just kind of pinch a little soil on them. There we go. Another row of radishes ready to grow. All right, now I'll water everything a little bit. You probably noticed these cold frames are open when I came out here today because I came out first thing in the morning and opened them up. It's such a warm day, but I got to remember these are still cool season crops. So if that thing is closed, it gets so warm in there, I'm afraid these things are eventually going to bolt and go to seed. Then I won't be able to use them anymore. I'm going to do a little weeding over here also. I finally have some lettuce coming up. I had more trouble with that, having the lettuce come up from seed, but it's finally coming up. I can tell the difference, I think, between the lettuce and the weeds. So I'm going to pull these weeds out because these are getting a little bigger than I like. And then I'll give everything a little light watering, and then I'll finally move on to the camper. Now it's interesting here because this row in front here, you can hardly tell the difference. I started those from seed, and these came from veggie starts I got at the nursery. Now these are a little thicker, but they're about the same size. One thing I do know is I got to start thinning them, otherwise they are not going to be any good for me. Oh man, that smells good. Try to do this in such a way that the plants will continue growing. They seem to have some new little shoots coming out from down low. So it would be nice if I could just keep trimming the same plants while I wait for some of the others to get big. All right, that looks pretty good. I'm gonna go ahead and leave the rest of it. I hope I haven't made too much of a mess of it. They're all kind of flopped over now, but I think once I water them a little bit, they grow again. They should get perked up. All right, now let's just do a really quick tour of the garden. Maybe I should have done this later. I got a lot of glare coming off that plastic. Now in here, this is a lavender plant we have here. I don't really know why, but we have it there. And this bed is all covered up with plastic. I wanted to do that to keep the weeds down. In fact, you could probably see it's kind of low. I'm going to have to add some soil to this one. This, of course, is the cold frame where I just picked the cilantro. This is my soft neck garlic growing. Over here, there's the cold frame where we just planted some of the more radishes. And in this end here, I have one tiny little row of radishes going. I just want to see how they do outside. And then some elephant garlic here. And this section here, this is all my red onions. And this section on the end here, that's my white onions. And back here at the back end, the same thing. I'm reserving these two beds for spring planting. And this one here, you can see how low it is. It's going to need some extra soil too. Then back here are the compost piles. This is the one I'm pretty much finishing here. I just turned it over a couple weeks ago, and there is enough finished compost in there. In fact, I used some of that from when I was planting the fruit trees next door. And over here is the one I'm still adding to. Still working on this one. Now I know one of the keys to a good compost pile is just keeping it wet. And that's easy enough in the wintertime because the rain gets it wet and it really doesn't dry out that quickly. But I've always had a lot of trouble in the summer. So this year, I think I'm going to run a line from the garden irrigation over there. So whenever the vegetable garden gets irrigated, I'll have a couple of those little micro sprinklers, one on top of each pile. And that way the compost will get wet each time too. They'll keep nice and damp. I think I have a lot better results with my compost. So it's finally time to head over to the camper. I'm going to leave these cold frames open probably till the sun dips behind the trees, because we do have a couple nice days coming. The nights are going to be mild, and I don't want them to overheat, and I like having them get that fresh air. But oh, I don't want to forget, I want to get the cilantro out of here and give them just a little bit of water. They really don't need a whole lot because everything stays pretty wet in the winter anyways, and even more so when it's inside these cold frames. All right, that'll do for now. This is my watering wand. I can never find one that I really liked in any of the nurseries or stores. So I had this valve, had some pipe, and I had a shower head. I just put it together, the valve on here. The only thing I don't like is this adapter that goes from hose to a pipe thread is plastic. Sometimes when I bend it, it sort of sprays out. So I'm going to have to get a brass one for that. But aside from that, this is the best thing I've ever had for watering my garden.